All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Thursday, February 1st. We have a small NBA slate to dive into in today's video, like we always do. We're going to go through each and every one of these games. So all four, I'm going to give you my lean on the spread. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about the games, any other plays that we like within the games, like player props. But as always, all of my final plays, so what I'm actually rolling with myself, those plays are going to be in the pinned comment if you do want to fade those picks. Last night was not really a fadeable night. We go 8-2, pumping some crowd noise for that 8-2. The one game we had a bad read on was the Kings and Heat. We split a unit here, so even our two losses really only combined for a 1-unit loss. Kings plus a 3.5, as well as the Kings money line. That fails to come through, but we doubled down on Brandon Ingram. We laddered him up half a unit on his 19.5 points and a quarter unit on his 20.5 and 21.5, and then we put a full unit once Zion was ruled questionable, not out. We kind of gambled there. We put a full unit on his new line at over 22.5, and that comes through. Brandon Ingram finishes with 24. So a nice little night last night. We shall take it. And in terms of a recap on the year, because we do recaps the first of every month, right? We're up 23 units on the NBA season, large in part to the fact that we had a killer January. I think we literally picked up like 14 units in January. So yeah, we shall take that. But the celebration doesn't stop there. We had a ride of the day cash as well coming in from Daddy Daquan. If you keep winning, I'm probably just going to call you Daquan because I can't say daddy this early in the morning every single day. But he comes through and says, Max Strus, less than 2.5 3-pointers made. I don't lose. And I said, all right, bet. Let's see it. Put your money where your mouth is. We put the bright light on him. Max Strus, I think he had 2 points total in like 30-plus minutes of play. 0 of, I think, 4 from 3. So you know what? Another cha-ching is in order. Shout out to Daquan. Guys, if you don't know what the ride of the day is, all you have to do is use hashtag ride of the day in the comments. Give me some locks in the comments. I'm jumping on board with one person's pick in the comments, giving you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. Also giving you a shout out over on X or Twitter at FGuyBoston if you do want to follow me there. But if you guys win, we keep riding with you. So look forward to seeing what Daquan has in the comments today. 4 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m. Eastern time is the cutoff before we have to pick someone new. So Daquan, get your ride of the day in. Let's see if you truly don't lose. But guys, let's talk some NBA basketball today. Starting it off with the Celtics taking on the Lakers. And this is, it's interesting because the Celtics are just like that much better than the Lakers this year. So it's like, do we really have the Celtics-Lakers vibe here? I think so. Now, I'm a huge Celtics fan. If you guys didn't know, channel name, green lights. And I do think the Celtics win this game. I think they're just a better put together team, but 10.5 points is a hell of a lot to lay in what you'd consider one of the best rivalries in the NBA, right? But that's kind of why I asked the question, does this really have that rivalry vibe? Like, are the Lakers and Celtics on the same level right now? Not really, but nonetheless, I do still think 10.5 points is a little bit too much to be comfortable with laying as the Celtics. I don't really feel comfortable laying the point or taking the points with the Lakers. So if I had a gun to my head, I would lean Celtics minus the points here. Maybe we'd pay a little extra juice, get it to like 9.5 or 9, something like that. Or in some sort of a same game parlay, we can get a lower spread, right? Because it really is a numbers game at this point. Like, I think the Celtics win this game. I think they're the better team, but I don't necessarily love that number. So in terms of a lean here, yes, I lean the Celtics, but you know, I'm ready to hit the brakes. Like, I'm not going full speed ahead in terms of laying that number. No real injuries to make note of. Al Horford's probable. LeBron, Anthony Davis, both questionable, but obviously when those guys are questionable, a lot of the times they do tend to play, and especially in a Celtics-Lakers game, right? Now, if we look at this from a total perspective, I really don't mind looking at the over in this spot. So the Lakers in the last 10 games have been playing as the #1 pace team in the league. So that is their MO. They're going to come into this and want to play with pace, largely in part to the fact that, you know, we have D'Angelo Russell playing his freaking hog off and playing really, really well and really pushing the tempo, like coming down and just jacking the three, but making it in a lot of cases. Like, he's been pushing the pace, but that whole team playing really fast right now. Now, the Celtics don't play fast, but we know they play efficient basketball. So I don't mind looking at the over in this spot. When it comes to the number, like, yeah, I do think that this is a pretty sharp line. Like, I could easily see this being 125, 15 type of a game, right? Which literally puts us at 240. But nonetheless, give me the over. I really don't think the under is the move in this spot, considering the Lakers and what they've been doing. The Lakers on the road this year have covered the over, so hit the over in 75% of games as well this season. So yeah, I do think that this game has a little bit of an up-tempo vibe to it. Give me the over in this spot. Player props wise, I like Derek White's points. The Lakers in the last 7 games here allowing the most points to the shooting guard position, and I think it's the second or third most threes to the shooting guard position. The problem is Derek White's line has been a little inflated. It's at 15.5 now. We were hitting this at the beginning of the year when it was, 11.5, 12.5. 15.5 is a little bit high, but I do think that he steps up in a spot like this. So I'm going to lean towards him over 15.5 points. You can get that for minus 105 over on DraftKings right now. I do think that that is some decent value. Even if you want to bump it down to like 14.5, right, get a little bit more comfortable, minus 135, not the worst juice. So that's probably the only player prop I look at in this spot. Tatum, probably going to have a good game. He gets up for these big games, but his lines are inflated. So kind of getting a little nitpicky here when it comes to player props, and Derek White's the only one that jumps off the page to me. And kind of on that note too, not to rant and ramble here, but like, it's a 4-game slate. We just went 8-2 last night. Like, we don't need to force anything. New month, like, we can be conservative on a small slate, right? We don't need to force anything. All right, next up, we have the Knicks taking on the Pacers. It's unfortunate that this game is kind of, sprinkled with injuries, because this would be a really good game to watch and just follow along as well. They did play earlier in the year, and the Pacers whooped them 140-126. But in terms of injuries, what I was referencing, Tyrese Halliburton questionable here, T.J. McConnell also questionable, Smith questionable, and then on the New York side of things, we have Anunoby questionable, Fournier and Grimes also questionable, and then Julius Randle out with that shoulder injury. So yes, this game has some injuries, and you know what, the Knicks have looked good even since Randle being out. Mainly I would pin that Utah game, right? Winning 118-103. Like, I didn't want to give them that much credit for the Charlotte win, but Utah winning by 15 there in Utah. I don't know, they were actually at home, but nonetheless, still Utah team that had been playing better basketball. For whatever reason, and it might be the stupid play here, guys, so I understand if you're on the Knicks side of things, but I think that the Pacers are just going to play a little bit too fast for the Knicks to keep up with, and there's so much, like, riding on these guys' shoulders now. DiVincenzo's playing out of his shoes. Brunson's line's, like, 33.5. It's like a lot of these guys are on fire right now, but all good things to some point must come to an end. They've won 8 straight games, beating some good teams. Now without Julius Randle, I could see the Pacers covering in this spot. Do I make that a final play? Probably not. Because like I said, if you're on the Knicks side, I really don't, I don't think I can argue, and I wouldn't try and talk you off of it. I'm just on the Pacers side today if Halliburton plays. If he doesn't, I probably pass on this game, but it might actually make me kind of lean Knicks, because now both teams are losing one of their stars, one more important than the other, which is even crazy to say because we know Randle's important, but Halliburton is the Pacers, right? Yeah, I like the Pacers, and I guess, Siakam, Halliburton, that sort of duo, they've started to play better. They lost to the Celtics, but that's an understandable loss. Prior to that, they beat Philly, Phoenix, and Memphis in some decent games. So give me the Pacers in this spot. In terms of a total, I'm not ready, so I guess I'm fading the Knicks without Randle in a sense here, right? But I'm not ready to fade the Knicks defense. This defense is absolutely absurd. Last 5 games here in terms of defense and points allowed, they've allowed 98 points per game. League average is just under 116. 98, almost 20 points below league. That is unbelievably crazy. The slowest paced team in the entire league as well. So I'm going to lean towards the under here. Kind of crazy to lean towards the Pacers under, but if Halliburton's not in, and, we have a slow-paced game, and the Knicks know their game plan should be to slow down this team, I like the under. And it's a high number. It's not like we're even getting a 227 game because of the Knicks defense. No, this is a high number because of the Pacers. I just think the Knicks have a little bit of an edge in slowing them down. But, guys, keep an eye on the pinned comment for final plays. This is kind of a tricky one, and like I said, we're not forcing anything tonight. A player prop or 2 that I like in this spot. Looking at OG Anunoby, he is questionable, but I like his over 1.5 3-pointers made. He's hit it in 6 of his last 10 games. He's hit it in 5 of his last 7 and in 2 straight. Now, he's been sitting out because of elbow inflammation. Not something you want to hear when you're trying to take his shooting props. But if he's good to go and he's ready to play, I do like his spot there. He shoots the second most in the last 10 games here. The second most left corner threes, shooting just under 50% from there. This is within the last 10 games. And if there's one spot that this Knicks defense, this Indiana defense truly struggles, they allow almost 60% shooting from the left corner. And OG Anunoby loves that. So, yeah, give me him over in threes. I also, we're waiting on the lines to come out. It's super early, but Dante DiVincenzo from the corners is deadly as well, and he's just been deadly in general. So if we have a decent line, like 2.5, I doubt we'll get that. It's probably up to 3.5 by now. I don't mind looking at Dante DiVincenzo's threes as well. And it's a good matchup for Brunson, but his line, like I said, is super high, to be honest. So probably not going to be touching him. All right, guys, before we move on to the back half of the slate, let me talk to you about the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer. If you've been following me on the YouTube Shorts, the Reels, the TikToks, you guys know that I love this tool, and I've even talked about it plenty on this YouTube channel as well. What this optimizer does is it compares prize picks lines to sportsbooks lines across the world, as well as the odds that sportsbooks are offering for these plays. So you know the value that you have heading into prize picks. The higher the negative number, aka the more favorable sportsbooks thinks the outcome is, the better chance it does have to hit. They use that to give you a % odds to hit. It's literally an easy one-stop pop in. All right, what are the best plays for prize picks today? All right, top of the list, boom, boom, boom. You can throw them in there. You can even look at this and say, okay, well, I want to build a 6-man slip. I don't know if any qualify just yet here, but throughout the day, you can build slips within this optimizer here, guys. You can get this 25% off using the link in the pinned comment, but you got to use code GUYBOSTON, GUYBOSTON. Use that code, you get 25% off. They also have this correlation tool, which is absolutely bonkers. They've tracked the success of it. Look at this, up 826 units since right around August. What this does is looks at correlated plays in the market. So, for example, for the Super Bowl, here's a 6-man pick. You can see Patrick Mahomes passing completions, Brock Purdy passing touchdowns. If they hit their overs, more likely than not, these wide receivers are also going to hit their overs as well. Tons of cool tools over there on the optimizer and on Daily Grind Fantasy. It's not just for prize picks. They have Sleeper, they have Chalkboard newly. They got a bunch of apps integrated as well. So make sure to check it out, guys. Again, that link is in the pinned comment, and you use code GUYBOSTON, you're going to get 25% off. Absolute no-brainer. I know you guys love it when I say that. Go check it out. Daily Grind Fantasy. All right, we got Memphis taking on Cleveland here. Right now, Memphis sitting at home as 6.5-point dogs. Total sitting at 216.5. Let's start with the total in this one. I don't mind looking at the under, even though it is such a low number. You have two teams that really aren't playing with crazy pace, and I think the Cavs on a back-to-back here isn't the best look for them to go and score a bunch of points. They've only hit, they're over in half their games this year when on back-to-backs, which you might say is good or bad, but that is just the essence of gambling, right? Like, flip a coin. We don't want that. We want a little bit of an edge here. So I like the under in this spot, especially because Memphis has been playing so slow. Bottom 5 team in terms of pace. They are at home here with a rest advantage. They're also cashing unders. I think they're 65% to the under with rest advantages this year. So we like that. And this line obviously is sitting here right in our face at 216.5. I think a lot of people might jump to the over because the Cavs sort of have the, I want to say, like, the sexiness right now. Mitchell, Mobley, Garland finally all healthy again. Like, let's go score a bunch of points. But what people really aren't giving the Cavs, I would say, credit for is, and I say this after last night, they allowed 121 to the Pistons, but they're not giving the Cavs credit for how freaking good that defense is starting to become. Remember last year when the Cavs were good and, are they going to win the East, blah, 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 like they won a streak? It was based on defense. Yeah, they have Donovan Mitchell dropping 45 points. We know that. But that defense is absolutely legit. And with that being an outlier last game, and then I think that game against the Bucks, we talked about it yesterday, right? Like, this defense hasn't allowed over 110 in forever. Like, they even with those 2 games included, I have it up in front of me here now. 4 of their last 8 games, actually, 50% of their games, they're holding their opponents to below 100 points. Double digits, not triple digits. Like, this defense is legit. I don't think Memphis is going to have an answer for it. So hopefully Memphis plays slow enough where the Cavs don't go out there and score a bunch of points, right? But the Cavs defense plays well enough that they really put their thumb down and squish Memphis. So I like the under in this spot. When it comes to a spread, I'm going to lean Cavs. Again, they're getting healthier. I don't know how that impacts guys on a back-to-back if, Garland plays. I think he was on a minutes cap last night. But nonetheless, you're not going to catch me taking the points with Memphis. I just really haven't been able to trust them whatsoever. Even when they get big numbers, like, yes, they're covering the spread. I get it. But if this Cavs team's, trajecting, is that word? Trending up, I don't want to bet against that even on a back-to-back. So, like I said, we started with the over-under, liking the under in this spot because of the fact that this spread, yes, I lean Cavs. I don't totally love it because this Memphis team has covered 5 straight games. This is the second lowest spread that they've gotten, though. 11, 11.5, 7, 6.5. So, it's not really my favorite spot for the Cavs, especially being on a back-to-back. But I just can't really get behind Memphis. Player props in this game also kind of struggled to pick any out here. The Cavs makes it a little bit, interesting because what does Garland bring? I think I said, or I was thinking at least yesterday, I don't really want to touch the Cavs because they have to figure some stuff out. Well, it was business as usual. Donovan Mitchell went off, right? And it's that's what he was doing when these guys weren't playing. So player props I kind of stick away from in this game. If we find any that we like throughout the day, obviously we'll update you in the pinned comment, but as of right now, not necessarily loving too much from a player prop perspective. All right, we got Utah taking on the Sixers, and I think the spread is telling it all here. This is coming in at 4.5. I believe it opened at 5, so it has moved down a little bit, but Joel Embiid has been ruled out. And the fact that we're sitting here with, Utah as 4.5/5-point favorites, I think Vegas and the books are pretty comfortable laying that number. This Sixers team, has not looked great. Joel Embiid's he gets hurt again against Golden State, but they've lost 4 straight games now. One of those games to Denver, the rest, they lost to Portland straight up. They lost to Golden State straight up. They lost to Indiana, and they were favored in that game as well. So this Philadelphia team is just not really playing their best basketball, and Utah is kind of in a spot to, okay, let's get right here. They were on fire, right? Playing good basketball. Then they go on a 6-game road trip and come back from that road trip 2-4. Really poor. So this is a get-right spot for them. They have 3 days off between their next games, so there's nothing really to look ahead to or anything like that. They do have Milwaukee coming to town, but I just like the betting spot for Utah and the spread coming in at 4.5. A line. So I'm not going to overthink it. Give me Utah here minus the points. Total sitting at 235. I do look at this and I say, okay, well, Philadelphia was scoring tons of points, just a month ago, maybe even less. But in their last 3 games, 105, 104, 107. That is not that many points. Utah's defense, though, on that, it really has never been all that great. They're allowing, we just talked about how the Knicks, it's crazy, they're allowing 20 points less than league average. Utah's allowing the 3rd most points per game in their last 5 games here, nearly 15 points over league average. So I do think that the Sixers have a better time scoring in this game. So I'll slightly lean towards the over here. I've even seen this jump to 235.5 on some sportsbooks. So we can get it at 234.5. Still kind of like the value there. So I'll go ahead and lean towards the over in this spot. From a player prop perspective, I think I got to look at Colin Sexton. His line's back down to a manageable number. It's at 18.5 for his points. He's hit it in 8 of his last 10 games. His minutes have kind of been like that. Like I like him when he's playing those 30 minutes, but he's gone 16, 35, 23, 28. So if we get a bad minutes allotment from him tonight, I don't like this pick, obviously, but he did play the Sixers at the beginning of January and went for 22 points over 27 minutes. He shot 14 times, which I'd even like that number to be higher, but he did shoot 64% from the field. So yeah, I like Colin Sexton when he's sitting at 18.5. I do think that that's going to be a guy that we turn to a lot in the season because, he's got some value if you can get his line at a manageable number. Now, he's been less consistent as of late. I understand that, but again, this is a Sixers team that I don't really have much trust in right now. Tyrese Maxey also looks like he's questionable as well, so would be kind of a tough spot there. He's not to say he could match up well in some sort of defense with Sexton, because I don't even think he'd really get that matchup, but he's quick enough to do it, right? Like, we could see Maxey get the switch. If Maxey doesn't play, Melton's not playing either. It's just a tough look for the Sixers, and a quick, explosive guy like Sexton can run circles around Kelly Oubre, Tobias Harris, those guys, the likes of those guys kind of covering him. So There's a player prop in that spot. But guys, we're not forcing anything tonight. Like I said, great night last night, great cap to January, but you just don't want to force things. Yes, you have a 4-game NBA slate, and honestly, these games are pretty good for a 4-game slate, right? We're not getting screwed, but you don't need to go force anything. So keep an eye on the pinned comment for all of our plays. The last thing I'll leave you with, guys, is if you made it this far into the video, go ahead and comment 19. Lets me know that you made it this far into the video. Also, use code 19 on fademe.store. Get 10% off your order today only. We'll celebrate that 8-2 night last night. So head over to fademe.store. If you've been thinking about picking up some merch, go check it out. It's something that we really put, like, you know, when they say put your blood, sweat, and tears into. I didn't cry about it, but blood and sweat into this shop, and you guys have made it a success. So appreciate the hell out of that. Check it out. Fademe.store. Use code 19 for 10% off. And yeah, comment 19 if you made it this far in the video. We'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.